A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program. It's called The Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. We're broadcasting live from Lagos, the nation's commercial nerve center. I'm Jeffrey Uzong. As always, Bukola is here.
Indeed.
It's a Monday morning.
It's a Monday morning, right? Thank you. You look good yourself as well. And so in a beautiful, cool day amid a very rainy month, we're trying to be the rainbow in the cloud. Good morning. Welcome to your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka. What a weekend it was, Jeffrey.
It's been an intense weekend. But let me start with you. What exactly caught your attention the most of the weekend?
Well, from about yesterday, of course, we know that with the governor of Akwa Ibom State has been officially received into the All Progressives Congress. But, you know, that is on the list of priorities as far as story tracking is concerned. It's pleasant to note that the Benue Police Command has made arrests of an unspecified number of persons connected with the Yelwata attack. We're going to be keeping our eyes, you know, close to that announcement to see exactly how this is handled in terms of prosecution, in terms of arraignment and follow-up, and in terms of links, of course, to other attacks in Benue State. That's cheery to note. But more importantly, what many consider to be the remote causes of this, you know, is what President Bola Tinubu, upon handing over his chairmanship position to, you know, the Sierra Leonean president, is talking about yesterday: the need to operationalize the West Africa standby force, and that is very, very key because, you know, when you talk about the terrorism infiltration and the, you know, entry into different countries on the West African continent of those who are said to be perpetrating these attacks, they are, you know, the names that are mentioned, the culprits oftentimes are Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. And these are the countries that have exited Ecowas. The commission says, of course, negotiations will continue, you know, to ensure that they return. But they have since formed the Alliance for Sahelian States. So the ship may have sailed on that particular one. But more importantly, the new chairman says is prioritizing, among other things, regional security. So it is important that the West African force, the need for it is being seen beyond, you know, tackling coups, but also regional security on the West African continent. So the proposal by chiefs of defense staff on the funding for that force should now, you know, come into the fore, and it should form the conversation even, you know, with those countries that have exited, because they are culprits as well when you consider the security concerns on the West African continent. So that's something that we should be looking at as far as, you know, the development of ECOWAS is concerned in much of this year and beyond. Jeffrey.
I totally agree with the idea of securing the borders of the subcontinent, if you will, or the sub-region, if you will, as far as ECOWAS is concerned. There needs to be more collaboration on the continent. There needs to be collaboration across the sub-regions, because it looks like we're not doing enough. We're too protectionist in one sense or the other without really knowing it. So everything that will make us to be more secure, because if your neighboring country is not safe, then you may not be safe as well. But that brings me to what is in strategy and the military terms, they call the mutually assured destruction, but it's called MAD, where what is playing out in geopolitics in the places like Iran, Israel, and the USA. Simply, what that big grammar simply talks about is the fact that there could be rational actors that have nuclear weapons in their arsenal, or what they call nukes, that can annihilate each other. So because they can annihilate each other, they would naturally not go to war. It's called some kind of a balance of terror. That's why Iran is being attacked today, because Iran doesn't really have a nuclear weapon. They say they are developing that nuclear weapon. What the US and Israel is doing today, they can't do it to North Korea, for instance, because they know those ones are ready to use their nukes anytime and any day. So that balance of terror is quite critical for for world peace as it is. It depends on who has nuclear weapon and who doesn't have, and how neocolonialism works in all of this. So to break it down, Bukola, is simply just saying that the reason a man will beat his wife is because he's aware that his wife cannot beat him back. So there's no balance of terror in that sense.
I like that.
Yeah, that's simply
analogy.
When you look at the fact that if you try places like China, try places like North Korea, you're going to get in equal measure the things that you're bringing to them, then everybody's going. So it's good for global peace, global stability. It depends on how you look at it. So Iran has been profiled, his leadership has been profiled to be ideologically unstable, so they are a threat to global order, so which is why they are attacking them. But the Iranian people have a right to defend themselves to the best of their ability. So this is not, I'm just using the issue of balance of terror, for instance, in geopolitics for global peace. So I've talked about husband and wife. I talk about even in the American society, it is the Second Amendment that brings that balance of terror. If you know you're coming to my house and I have gun, and you want to come and kill the person in my house, kill me, you now have gun, you know that there's a balance of terror. So you're going to be rational enough not to think twice, which is why the Second Amendment holds the fact that you can hold gun. Republicans hold that as a matter of fact. If you come down to even Nigeria, some of the places that some of these terrorists have been taking over, it's also a question of balance of terror. I'm not saying those people are so vulnerable, they can't take up arms to fight anybody. But there are places I know these terrorists cannot go to, even in this Nigeria. I can call villages, I can call areas, because of the concept of balance of terror. So that's why this West African force, if you whatever you want to call it, is quite important, so that we are able to have a bit of balance of terror. So whoever comes against our subcontinent in that sense, however can manage it, knows that you're coming fire for fire. So that it can help us balance public peace or global peace in that sense. So
well, Jeffrey,
we're watching what's going on.
Just to quickly add a bit to it, it's collaboration, as you said, that is key. Because if we remember if we weren't asked what became of the multinational joint task force under President Muhammadu Buhari, because if that had been effective and sustained, would there be a need for, a new creation of the West Africa Standby Force? So that's why collaboration must be backed with commitment in terms of funding of the force.
Not just gathering people. Okay. Well, what are we talking about today on the program? We will be talking about, of course, Bukola, you have the first one.
Yes, indeed. State of the nation, from a series of deadly attacks in the northern region of the country over the weekend to the Akwa Ibom governor being officially received by the All Progressives Congress. We'll be touching on a number of issues happening around the country, and our guest is already on standby to answer those questions agitating your minds.
As a matter of fact, our guest is a veteran journalist who is going to breaking it down. He's followed these stories for many, many years. And besides all of that, we're going to be looking at what's playing out in Rivers State. At the weekend, we saw that a gentleman who was appointed an administrator by the sole administrator. So there's
sole administrator at the local level, sole administrator.
It was brutally handled, violently handled by a couple of people who he says forced him to resign. We saw the videos. Viewer discretion will be advised at that particular point when we play that video, because it's not quite good. Well, he said he was forced to resign, but his chief of staff or chief security officer will join us on the program as we begin to look at, because he's been accused by the police force in Rivers State of being the mastermind or leading the hoodlums to go and beat up the administrator. What exactly is playing out in our other local government? We'll break it down right here in Rivers State.
And we'll still be staying with local government administration, from Rivers even to Osun State. One bit that is emanating from Rivers, particularly with that incident, is the management of local government funds. And so we'll be speaking with a lawyer, a senior lawyer, to help us understand the implications of government's withholding of local government funds and the impact on grassroots administration in the state. So it's a whole lot, to chew on this morning.
Okay, so remember the feedback channels. You can go to X handle, just CTV Morning Bridge hashtag, or send us a message via email as well as a message via our WhatsApp number. We'll respond to all of it on the program. But let's get to the dailies in just a moment. Okay, let's start with the New Telegraph newspaper, where it's a bit of a back and forth between the presidency and Sule Lamido, the former governor of Jigawa State, about the role that Bola Tinubu, the president, played in the struggle for June 12. Well, he said that the president had actually supported the annulment. The presidency has responded that no, his revisionist attempt would not be tolerated because that is not the point. The president fought for democracy through Nadeco, was even exiled or left the country for self-exile, where people like Lamido compromised. Those were some of the words that were used by the presidency. But the headline says, Tinubu supported June 12 annulment, not part of pro-democracy struggle. That is what elicited the reaction from the presidency. Now, the headline is credited to Sule Lamido. The writer is ex-Jigawa governor jealous of president's credentials, trying to rewrite history with his lies. That's according to Bayo Nanuga, who replied on behalf of the presidency. I'm happy that our guest, first guest, has been through all of the ropes, so he understands the story in depth, critically. Well, everybody's giving their own version of June 12. Whether some people were pretenders to be supporters of June 12, or they were really heroes of June 12. So that is a conversation right now. So Lamido is saying, no, the president actually supported annulment, that a few things happened during the Abacha regime, which is why he made a U-turn. What the president said, presidency said that's a big lie. That's not true. So if you go to Bayo Nanuga's page, handle on X, he's written a long stuff with quotes where the president stood up to the military when they had to go and convert themselves somewhere in Lagos as a National Assembly, insisting that this is not going to work, and even showing pictures of the president and Abacha and Abiola in one frame. So it's been a back and forth. You remember since IBB wrote that book, he's been all flurry of reactions.
Generated controversy.
I don't know, everybody's trying to tell their story in different ways. But history will vindicate the just. That's what he said.
Well, it's an important conversation because it also came through on our sister political program yesterday with the guest challenging what he understood to be the president's participation in the June 12 struggle at that time. And he specifically referred to, what seemed to be the president being in exile. How could he have fought for democracy, from exile? And it's important that these issues are coming to light. It's a form of education for those who had not reached the age of accountability during the June 12 struggle, so that history will be put in proper perspective. And as you said, Jeffrey, the wheat will be separated from the chaff. But let's quickly go to the next paper. And this one is The Guardian newspaper. And take a look at the headline from The Guardian newspaper. Hope for Nigeria's troubled fiscal outlook as oil prices head to $80 per barrel. That's it. There you have it. And what are the remote factors contributing to, that particular development? Look at what's happening in the world. Israel-Iran tensions shake markets. Oil and energy, crude oil surges by $14 per barrel. Remember, it was hovering around a little over $60 per barrel. Precious metals and safe haven currencies, gold prices jump, amongst others. You can follow up on that yourself. But there are other, more concerning implications for the domestic economy back home with the increase in the pump price of petrol. So while we're gaining increased effects on the one hand, Nigerians are suffering for it on the other hand. So when will all those progress that the administration is quoting in terms of microeconomics, when will it trickle down to Nigerians at the grassroots?
Well, for the Federation, as far as the Federation is concerned, this is good news. But for citizens, this may not be totally good news.
Absolutely.
Because it's good news in terms of revenue. We're in excess of almost $5, about $3 to $4. Assumption was about $75. We're screaming that this is overestimation, not knowing that these upsets will happen in terms of supply chain disruptions. So this happens whenever anything affects Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is always a concern because that's where about 20% of the global oil passes through daily. when you have that kind of volume within a strait, it's quite concerned. So the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman into the Arabian Sea, I know that there's a pipeline that runs from Saudi Arabia, which is the peninsula, up to the other part of the Red Sea as well. So everybody's trying to explore all the options. So anything that hits the Strait of Hormuz, which is where most of the oil passes, is going to impact the rest of the world. So on the other hand, countries that have that sell oil would naturally be selling better because they'll be buying at the oil prices will spike. But for citizens and consumers like you and I who buy it at pump price, that means as well, because our market is regulated, it's not subsidized anymore, the prices will go up. But people are saying we cannot be depending on geopolitical conflict and distortion to be able to grow our economy. Well, but this is not the first time.
It's still curious for me because we now have capacity for domestic production.
Yeah, so
why it should be going up, I still do not understand that mathematics, Jeffrey.
No, because oil is priced in dollars and it's a global commodity. So whatever happens, although we can buy oil in Naira here in the dollar equivalent, so that kind of lessens the FX pressure on our FX right here that we don't have. 30% of it is caused by this FX pressure. So, well, appeal courts. This is news. Nigerian News Direct says appeal court judgment showdown as PDP chairman set to resume at secretariats today. Appeal court judgment showdown as PDP chairman set to resume at secretariats today, as APC accuses PDP of planning violent takeover. We are still in charge as duly elected chairman, APC chairman. This should be the issue of Osun State. Well, I've never seen the kind of electoral jurisprudence we see in Nigeria is very concerning, where judgment of court should actually give closure, but it causes conundrum and confusion just immediately afterwards. I do not know where the problem is coming from. Is it the bench? Is it the bar? Is it the litigants? I do not know. But this is quite interesting.
Will the problem be solved with a defection? I'm wondering.
So for context, for those who are not familiar with the story, there were trial court incidents as far as the election in 2022 before Ayatollah left office, electing chairman into the office. Well, the APC lost on both ends, where the PDP and the APP took them to court. Well, the APC appealed both cases. January, sometime earlier this year, the APC's judgment came in favor of the APC. As the APC judgment came, one of them that they appealed as far as the PDP case is concerned. So that's why they call themselves reinstated chairman. But when they went to release the case that has to do with the APP, because for want of diligent prosecution, they didn't follow through. So they tried to release that case that nullified the election. Well, the appeal court said, no, this is self-inflicted. This case it lacks merit, is hereby dismissed. So the PDP is holding on to the fact that based on the judgment that was appealed by the APC against the APP, that the Court of Appeal has now dismissed the relisting. What is subsisting is the nullification of the election in Osun State. So the PDP chairman holds sway. Remember, they've also had election that sworn in new chairman, but the APC say no, that's not correct.
On the strength of that, the PDP is saying their own chairman that validly elected. So
the APC now is saying no, let's look at the judgments that favored us as well. So it's just a confusing. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice will be able to do justice to all of this, hopefully, in fairness to all parties. But I think we'll have one more paper before bringing our guests, because I think.
Yes, and that will be Daily Independent. Daily Independent leads with a story that looks at the impact of the financial space, and this is how it is captioned: struggling banks face hurdles to navigate recapitalization. About 10 lenders under CBN watch for recapitalization risks. Well, the recapitalization deadline, I believe, is in March 2026. So banks are in a race to strengthen their vaults to ensure that they meet the recapitalization deadline. We hope that that process is done diligently, to avoid any concerns about account holders and the safety of their funds. We certainly do not want a repeat of some of the consequences of the recapitalization of 2005.
I'm sure some are already meeting the deadline. The whole idea of recapitalization is that we have enough capacity within our banking vaults to be able to lend as much as possible. If we're trying to look at a $1 trillion economy, then our recapitalization is critical. We cannot have a situation where one telco is bigger than our entire banking system. It doesn't work that way. But we hope we're going to get there where we'll do big things as a country, because if we're building this economy to be a big economy, we cannot do it without the banking sector. They are critical to lending and all of that for people to drive development. But we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll be bringing in Martin Zaloja, who is a veteran journalist, is the immediate past managing director and editor-in-chief of the Guardian newspaper. He'll be joining us to break down what we're dealing with as far as the state of the nation is concerned. He joins us from our Abuja studio, but we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. It's still the morning brief right here on Channels Television, and we start off the conversation with a general feel of the state of the nation, with so many things happening, from security to the economy. And as Jeffrey said earlier, our guest joins us now. He is Mr. Martin Zaloja, the immediate past managing director and editor-in-chief of the Guardian newspaper, also a fellow of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Good morning, sir. Thank you for coming through at this time.
Good morning.
So let's start off where we began the program from, because it's very critical, not just to the West African regional stability, but also to, security in Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu has handed over his chairmanship position to the president of Sierra Leone, and he has also, the new president chairperson, has prioritized, amongst other things, regional security. When you look at, the pattern of insecurity in the West African sub-region, how critical is it for the new chairperson of Ecowas to prioritize the funding of that standby force, and how much of participation are you seeing coming through from those that need to participate in the standby force?
Well, thank you very much. In the first instance, ECOWAS, that everything about ECOWAS isn't reliable at all, because we have been around for a very long time. Even movement around ECOWAS itself is troubled. It's not something that is reliable. We are Nigerians. We are in Nigeria. The headquarters of ECOWAS is in Nigeria, and we move from one place to the other. Even movement from Nigeria to some West African states is a problem. Not to talk of these, you referred earlier to even multinational force that even the former president Muhammadu Buhari talked about. We have been hearing about plans and potential about this ECOWAS. And I don't know, with due respect, that ECOWAS hasn't been successful in executing its own plans. We have been hearing about this. They make plans like that from one place to the other. Even the chairmanship of the immediate, the presidency of Nigeria's president as chairman of ECOWAS, who just handed over. We cannot see some concrete things that they have done, and even 3 countries like that, this Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, left ECOWAS. And these are critical to even the success of what they are talking about. And I believe that it is while it is critical, one cannot rely on even leadership of ECOWAS from any country, because they are not good at executing their own plans. We haven't seen anything. They have not proved to us that they are serious about leading this ECOWAS. No, we haven't seen any inspiration in the leadership of ECOWAS in recent time. I think we should begin the discussion from there. They do not have the discipline of execution of their plans.
Well, that's a rather gloomy picture, but we can only hope for the best from that point. But let's come back home now to the same issue of security. Last week, towards the end, we saw that the NSA and the Minister of Defense emerged from a security meeting with the governors. Of course, something else entirely was told us about the outcome of the meeting from the governors. But if we consider that other issues may have been discussed, and yet over the weekend, we're still seeing attacks in Jos. 12 people were killed. In Borno, there was a suicide bombing recorded. Do you believe that the administration has what it takes to tackle this insecurity challenge?
Yes, I believe that the administration has what it takes to tackle this challenge, but we haven't seen the discipline I'm talking about. We haven't seen the political will to do certain things. I believe I have followed our military establishment over the years. I know that the armed forces are capable, but I am not too sure that we have a capable state that will have the political will. You know that it is curious that every time they emerge from a meeting with the commander-in-chief, armed forces chiefs, service chiefs, police chiefs, all of them will emerge from a meeting. They will rise from a meeting with an order from the commander-in-chief to do something. Next time we have another meeting, a series of meetings with the commander-in-chief. But I believe that there is something that is wrong with a situation where the president had to get to a place like Benue, for instance, and order them to arrest criminals. Just as our brother Laolu Akande said in a recent, at least the day the president visited Benue, we the citizens will be pleased to hear that they have arrested some of these criminals who are carrying out this. That they cannot identify them, they just carry out this heinous act and run away. They are in the country, they are in a forest, they are in a place. Do they want to tell us that the armed forces do not have the equipment? They do not have the experience, they do not have the wherewithal or what it takes to arrest those criminals. And I have always quoted this Shakespearean saying that any mercy that forgives a murderer encourages murder. So if they are not arrested, it encourages them to carry out more heinous acts. They should be arrested. If they should be arrested and tried to cause deterrence. I know that our armed forces have gone abroad, they have gone on some peacekeeping forces, and they have won laurels. But why it is curious at home that we hear that they killed even members of the armed forces, they killed some of our troops on duty, that terrorists will invade police stations and they will kill our police officers. They are our brothers and our sisters. And it is not good for even us to be reading stories of how terrorists are killing them. So what is the current budget? Defense has the lion's share of the budget details. Why is it that we are not recording success beyond some mere treacherous claims that we have recorded success here, but they are killing our people? And I believe it is high time we got to the root of this matter. And the president shouldn't have to be giving orders to the troops before they can carry out their function. What is wrong? Let us be truthful. Let us inspire some of our people like that, oh, the president had to give order to troops before they can arrest criminals. I think it is not a good story to read even from our newspapers. They should carry out this so that others will see us as a capable state. security and welfare of the people is written in our constitution shall be the primary purpose of government. And if people are not secure, so what is the purpose of government? And I think we need to get this thing right. We need to tell the authorities that if people are feeling insecure, and we're talking about deepening democracy, and I think democracy will not be deepened. If our people are insecure and if there is no welfare, as we are talking about, and that is another story, but security, the point at issue, and I think people in power, people who are in office today, our duty bearers, have a responsibility to ensure that people can be secure in this country. And others looking at us, watching at us as the most populous black nation on earth will see us as a capable state. Capable state, a state that is capable of securing its citizens and businesses.
All right, Mr. Lodger, before we get to what is playing out in politics, the coalition, the defection, and all of that, if you can talk about this in just about 1 minute, still on security. I will read the tweet of the president he posted yesterday at about 12:54 p.m. He said, "I'm deeply saddened and outraged by a series of tragic events that are shaking our nation in recent days. From the cowardly suicide bombing in Konduga in Borno State to the horrifying lynching of innocent travelers in Plateau State and the deadly explosion in Kano, those attacks on innocent lives are unconscionable and must not stand." And you've raised concerns. So this is the president capturing the weekend, literally a few days ago, of the kind of heinous crime that has happened or been committed against Nigerian citizens by whoever these people are. But you've raised concern about the issue of the president always having to direct. So what exactly is going on? Is it that some arrests or measures were taken, but they need the commander-in-chief to give them some level of more impetus? And why does that have to happen? Because that's why they are security agencies. Why do you think they always, quote and unquote, will wait for the president's directive, which I don't want to believe. But for the president to say, "I direct this," means he's giving an order as commander-in-chief. Why do we have that situation? It doesn't happen like that in other climes.
It doesn't happen. That is why I'm talking about the capability of our state. And I think the commander-in-chief should be worried about that he has to be giving directives. It shouldn't happen. Why do members of our own armed forces go abroad on peacekeeping forces? How do they win laurel? They have written to the country that they have done well. They did well in Sierra Leone. They did well even in Liberia before that time. They have done that one even in some developed countries where we have contributed to troops. What is wrong? There is something that is wrong with operations here. What is happening operations? They are talking, some members of the armed forces are talking about sabotage. They are talking about some natives, some citizens collaborating with criminals to unleash this terror on our people. But the issue is, why are those saboteurs, suspected criminals and whatever, why are they not arrested and prosecuted? Why are they not paraded? What is hampering the operations of members of the armed forces from arresting these people? They are inside Nigeria. Don't we have equipment to track them? That is the capable state. Let us not even refer to what is happening between one country and the other now. Unleashing, you talked beautifully this morning about balance of terror. Let us balance this terror with terrorists, with criminals in this country. Beautiful description. Balance of terror. Let the terrorists know that they are facing the armed forces of a country. This is internal security. It's not about external. Internal security is supposed to be even primary responsibility of the police force. We have seen now that the police cannot handle this thing, and members of the armed forces that are supposed to deal with external issues are involved, yet we are not recording success. And I think we need to go into some introspection about why this doesn't happen, and the commander-in-chief should be worried. We like his tweet. His tweet is inspirational from X, but then we would like to see success reported to the citizens, that We commend members of our armed forces for this operational success, for the exploits in this balance of terror. Let the terrorists feel that there is a nation, that they cannot continue like this. Let the criminals in our midst feel, and let the citizens of Plateau and Benue State feel that we have armed forces, we have a government that can deal with insecurity, that can deal with people burying their own citizens, burying their fathers, burying their mothers, burying their even children. That was a case in this Plateau State. A woman just gave birth and was trying to find a way of taking care of herself, the woman and the newborn baby. I was told this yesterday. Were killed by these criminals. We cannot continue like that. We will want to record success that we have our members of the armed forces have dealt with these criminals. They have arrested them. They have detected where they are hiding. I think these are the stories we would like to read so that we can feel secure in this country.
Absolutely. And so from balancing terror, let's talk about balance of power, Mr. Noja. Over the weekend, we hear Pastor Umo Eno talking about the reason, that justifies his defection. I wonder if we can have that track before we come to your reaction, because we have also, something from a flash in the past when he was campaigning to be governor, when he was talking about the same item that he sort of uses to justify the defection, and that is the building of the Ibom deep sea port. Okay, so we have the track. Let's have the track, and then we'll come to you for your reaction.
If you make the mistake of bringing them to office, that's what they think you are. They want to make you houseboys. Are you going to be houseboys again? They talked about the Ibom deep sea port to be built. Don't let anybody deceive you. Nobody, at least not the presidential candidate of APC with respect, will leave Lekki deep sea port and leave Badagry deep sea port and come and build Ibom deep sea port. It will not happen. So we are not afraid to join the APC, for we know that with the APC, we will realize our deep sea ports. And that is our plea. For over 30 years, Akwa Ibom have struggled to have a deep sea port. Today, we are reassured that the federal government will show us the order of reciprocity by helping us to realize our deep sea ports. Akwa Ibom has the longest drought, 19 meters deep, that you don't need to dredge. We have struggled as a state, but I believe we have struggled enough. I believe that our president, who is a man of his words, will honor us. Even if it is one terminal, this movement would have been justified.
And so, Mr. Loja, in the space of 2 years, many would ask, what changed?
The answer, my dear sister, is blowing in the wind. It shouldn't blow in the wind like that, Nothing has changed. It's just hypocrisy of our leaders who we want to describe as dealers now instead of calling them leaders. They are dealers. And this is actually one of them, and we should tell truth to power. Within 2 years, you said this one, within 2 years, you are changing from one place to the other. And you know that it's a paradox of development about Akwa Ibom State. Akwa Ibom State, under any political party, has done very well. Look at what they have done. They have followed their development plan in the last 26 years of democracy in a way that there is a sense in which Akwa Ibom could have been used as a poster boy for democracy, as an example of development in a democracy. They have good road network, They have, they built an airport, they have an airline in collaboration through their PPP arrangement. They have this one going for them. And these are the things that we have used in staying where they are, but you look at what they are telling us. The pertinent question is, as they are moving from one political platform to the other, are they going with their people? The answer to will blow in the wind. You just wake up and you just go. This tells us as citizens that we haven't got political parties yet. Political parties are good platforms for development. We have had it here before. We are not too young to know that we had these political parties with ideologies that people were following. But right now, we don't have political parties. Yes, they are registered, but they are just special purpose vehicle. Special purpose vehicle to just do what they like. If it is not rosy in this place, or if you are threatened in this place, you move to the other for the purpose of getting close to Abuja. On one hand, people are talking about federalism. I have written on this Akwa Ibom state as a good example of federalism from what they have achieved. I have written it in my inside stuff column. But look at the way they are behaving. They want to denigrate the platform that made them to develop the state, and they are moving to another one without any reasonable justification to the people of the state and the people of Nigeria who watch them. One of those of us who have even written extensively about the development that they have had, we are asking other states in the federation to even emulate Akwa Ibom state. But look at the way the leaders are behaving. You just cross from one political party to the other. You are giving reasons why you did this. Yesterday, you blamed the same political party you are moving to today without reference to that, without even apologizing to the people. And this is not a good example, and we take advantage of this platform to send this message to our leaders that this is not fair, and we are now educated enough as citizens to discern good from bad, to discern leaders from dealers. They should not continue to portray themselves to us as dealers. We see them as leaders. They should be consistent. Democracy has made progress, even in the state. They shouldn't demonize democracy. And they shouldn't make people to be suggesting alternative to democracy because of their behavior. They are leaders. They should not portray themselves to us as dealers. They should be consistent, and they should carry the people along. All these movements to another political party, the question is, are they carrying the whole people into the whole political party? Is it for the purpose of election? Is it for the purpose of having access to good things in Abuja? Is it for the purpose of deepening democracy, or what? Why? You just move anyhow. You just get anyhow as special purpose vehicles to get what you want, not what the people. Where did they have the town hall? Where they discuss with the people and they explain to the people what happens to the political party that brought them to power? What have they not achieved? Have they explained to the people before just moving? All these reasons, all these moving governors are given to the people. They may not have immediate feedback, but they should know that if it is for the purpose of election, in the last presidential election, 2 critical states were lost by the ruling party. The ruling party didn't win Lagos State. I said so to a forum of leaders in Jos last month. They also didn't win even the nation's capital. Even inside the state house in Abuja, the ruling party didn't win presidential election and didn't even get 25% in Abuja without anything. There was voter education. And so we will be talking if I may come in. My apologies, sir. If I may come in, sir. Education as we go on. Yes. So I think that our leaders should note that. Okay. That all this movement will have consequences. All right. We just have, if you can do this for us in 60 seconds, because that's all we have before we move to the next segment. I just want you to comment on this back and forth over June 12, who played what role. Sule Lamido is saying the president supported the annulment and later made a turn. Well, the presidency has responded and said, well, the president didn't do that. In fact, he fought for democracy
whilst he was here, went on exile, kept fighting, funding, and it was people like Sule Lamido that compromised. So there has been this brickbat between both of them. In 1 minute, sir, if you can, just help us, your take on it.
You know, yeah, definitely. You know, the story of June 12th is just imagine. They are honoring people, they are honoring people who played significant role. We also should have another hall of shame for villains of democracy. We are talking about heroes of democracy. Whoever did what? You know, I did a story when I just joined The Guardian in 2000. I joined them in a year before 2000. You know, I joined them and I wrote a story about those who signed away June 12th. A group of 34, because the military government then set up a tripartite committee comprising two political parties, NRC and SDP. And then the military establishments, only John Nnea Nwodo signed a document with reservations. We wrote the names of those people who signed away June 12th, among other factors. And the people have been talking, a book had been written by the general, by the head of state at that time. They have mentioned some names here and there. The names of whoever played any role, all the names will be out. We have seen heroes now. We will also see villains. Some of the heroes were honored. We have written that some have not been honored, and the president is responding to all those things like that about this president not being involved here and there. The president was in exile. Why was he in exile? We have been told before that the president was part of the people who even set up Radio Kudirite that was fighting military people at that time. And we have read stories, concrete stories of how the current president, also participated in mobilizing people, in funding some operations, even as part of NADECO. Some people were saying he was not part of NADECO. We have read stories, but some of this will be subject of academic studies and research by journalists about who did what. But I have some documents. I've written my own story about G34 from 1999. When I joined The Guardian in 2000, June 11, I wrote it, and the Professor Latuji Dare even used a lot of my material to write his own book, Debacle, the Diary of a Debacle. The stories are coming, but whatever Sule Lamido is saying now is a political statement, and we expect that one from an opposition person like that, and let the person who has accused give the proof. Let the person prove that, look, I have accused you of this. Bring the documents and material about the role each of these people played. It's a political statement, but the story of June 12th is just imagined. And all the villains and the heroes will be exposed in the long run. It's an imagined story.
All right. Whatever education that you're offering through your book will, of course, be welcome, such that everyone can know who the real heroes are and who the villains are, such that we do not build justice upon injustice. We must thank you very much at this point for your time on the program. We've been talking with Mr. Martins Oloja. He's a former managing director and editor-in-chief of The Guardian newspaper and fellow of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
And so from here, we head over to Rivers State and, pretty much get an update on the current friction, or if you like, development as far as grassroots administration is concerned. This comes on the heels of reported attacks over the weekend on a sole administrator of Ahoda East local government area of the state. Stay with us for that conversation. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's head to Rivers State. At the weekend, there was an issue that played out in Ahoda East local government area, where we understand that the administrator that was appointed by the sole administrator, Ibokete Ibas, the vice admiral, that administrator in Ahoda East has resigned. But he said he didn't resign. He was forced to resign. And because of that, a video emerged showing how he was violently brutalized by some people. They say they are hoodlums. And the police has released a statement to that effect. pointing fingers at the gentleman who we'll speak to in just a moment, who they say led that assault on the local government chairman of our other, sorry, the administrator of our other East local government area. But let's show you the video. But we advise that viewer discretion is advised because some of you may find this very quite disturbing. Let's take a look.
Automatically, yeah. Sign immediately. Where is the signature? Sign. Saka, confirm the signature. Time again. Come on,
Quite disturbing video. The police has condemned this act and in a statement a few days, was it yesterday or so? Well, the man they accused of leading that assault is joining us right now. His name is Hector Ekakita, alleged to have led the assault, I should add. He's a chief security officer and chief of staff to the other East administrator, Mr. Yanacho. Mr. Ekakita, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. So, we saw a statement from the police saying that you led the assault on the administrator of our other East, forcing him to resign his position, whether post-dated or otherwise. Did you lead that assault? What do you know?
My brother, to be kindly speaking, I am the CSO, the Chief Security Officer of the LJLA of Agoda East local government area in River State, under the sole administrator of Ihanacho Gullo Madobochi. I, as the Chief Security Officer of the LJLA, how would I do that? How would I venture into carrying hoodlums to go and attack the man I'm working with? So if the CP is making such a decision, and I am not among, I was never found in the video, and the only thing that happened that day from the video, if you watch very well, I don't know who did the video or whatever, but I only know that when I heard the noise from my office, that is how the matter generated. When I heard the noise from office of political appointees that the sole administrator did not pay for the month of May, when I barged in, I was asked to shut the door, that it is within him and those political appointees. And I never made any video nor carry any hoodlums to go and attack him. You can as well as verify from 92.3, where he said he was never beaten and he was never asked to resign. So where did I come into the picture? Me and the chief of staff.
So let's understand you properly, because I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
On one hand, in one fell swoop, you had said he's gone to radio to say it was not attacked, and on the other hand. On the other hand, you said that you were in your office when you heard what happened, and you barged in, and they say you should leave. So is it that you never saw him being beaten? And you are the chief security officer. When you went inside, were you not here? Okay, let's assume that you were in your office. Okay. Just hold on. Let's understand the premise here, because I'm trying to understand. There's a bit of inconsistency in your remarks. So help me understand what you're saying. You are the chief security officer to this gentleman for whatever intent and purpose. Now, he's being beaten by whoever came to beat him, whether it is political stakeholders or hoodlums. And you say you came in and they say you should leave because he's a whatever family. How does that make sense?
Because I will tell you that it has been like that. Sometimes people come to him and then maybe they raise noise, maybe they will tell me to go. So when I open that door and he asked me to go, that is between him and the political appointee that he have not paid, I have to go back to my office. office and go for my daily activities.
So
I never...
So, Mr. Hector, you returned to your office. Didn't you hear that he was in distress? And if you heard, why didn't you try to bring some form of rescue to him?
Good. On that incident, when the noise was generating high, I tried to call the police and I were able to get in touch with them. And you know, secondly, if there is such act, the police and I were supposed to be together on the same page. So I never saw beating when I knocked on the door and I opened and I closed it and asked me to go. So I have to go back to my district. So when I saw that they were making a lot of noise, I tried to call the DPO, CSP Chukuma, and the thing was not going through. So
throughout the entire time that Mr. Ehem Nacho was being attacked, you couldn't get through to the police, or you couldn't get people in the secretariat to come and rescue him? You couldn't break down the door?
No, because it's a bulletproof door. But the only thing I did was to make a call that the noise was much, and I have to run down. So that's the only thing I did.
But Mr. Hector, an audio has since emerged in which you leveled allegations against the sole administrator of Ahoda East local government, which sort of suggests that you may have motive in this attack. Explain to us why you have those reservations about the local, the sole administrator in the management of local government funds.
Okay, that aspect of the money that he embezzled, that is left for him and the police and the other financial institute, like the EFCC and all the rest. It's not in my jurisdiction, but I only atomize. This could be the reason, because when the political appointee approached him and they were arguing, so I don't know what next happened inside that place. But the only thing I know that this is what I, as the CSO, have also written down in my own perspective.
So let me understand. I'm wondering why somebody who is a CSO, for me, you're giving excuses with the greatest sense of respect. If that guy was killed, I hope you know you would have been arrested, because you're the chief security officer. You are supposed to protect his life, whatever it is. So help us understand again. I'll go back to that question. So at what point did you finally gain entrance to see what had happened inside the office?
No, after they told me that I should not come in, I have to go down. I even left my own power bank in my office around them to call for a security, which I couldn't reach them. So now, the area of saying that I'm a chief security, yes, good and fine. I'm a chief security of the LJLA. But in that recent, my boss have told me to shut down the door. I have to do that. I'm not to be on the other way side to disobey him.
And so when the assailants were done with their mission, were you able to get the police to arrest them for what they had done to the sole administrator, whom it was your responsibility to protect?
Yeah. I went to the police. I went to the station. I also called the DSS that they should come to my area. I went to the office, which I also told them, and I was making a statement telling them that this is what transpired. We were in the office when political appointees went to meet with our boss, only for me to hear noise, and then I have to rush out of the office.
So who do...
and then come to make statement here.
Sorry, Mr. Hector. So who do we believe? If I remember the police statement, I stand to be corrected. Police said they were hoodlums. You say they are political appointees. So we're saying the truth. That's one hand. So clarify to us, because I do not know when political appointees will take laws into their hands to beat up somebody in the manner they did for whatever happened, you know. So where are you coming from with this political? And we're also in receipt of the conversation you had, that one of the reasons that made the political appointees, as you alluded to be angry, is the fact that the sole administrator or the administrator in the local government was romancing or having a relationship, political relationship with Simplified Group. And perhaps that suggests that, are you pro-Wike Group here?
Thank you very much. That's in that audio. I said that could be one of the causes. I don't know, because the solar administrator, before now, from the conversation I had them shouting on each other that he has paid some part of Simplified Group, and they also alleging that he also lodged some member of Simplified Group in a hotel and also want to give the appointment. So that is why when he asked me to shut down the door, I have to do it, because it's not my matter.
But you said
that is an internal matter within them.
Okay, you said
and
that.
For police to allege that it was a hoodlum, I want to quote you right, that the sole administrator never gave any news in 92.3 that it was a hoodlum. And he said he was never attacked. So the CP brought that this thing, what do you call it, the information that is what the sole administrator told him. So to me, the sole administrator never mentioned my name.
Mr. Hector, I'm sorry. I want to understand where you're going to. Was Iheanacho attacked or not? You're the CSO.
Yes.
Was he attacked?
I don't know whether he was attacked. I don't know whether, but the only time I got to that place was when they were raising voice on each other.
So I want you to listen to what you're saying. You say you don't know whether it was attacked, yet you went to call the police. You're calling the police to come and settle what exactly?
I went to call the police to come and calm down the area, that the noise was much.
So it was noise that made you to call the police, not an attack?
Yes.
Interesting.
It was the noise that made me to went to the police station.
So were you around after the attack or after what may have transpired behind closed doors to see the state of your boss?
I was around, but I ran for my life. I was at the DSS office that time.
So you didn't wait to protect your boss or detain the assailants? And you are the CSO?
Yes, I didn't wait, but I have to go to the security agencies to come to the aid of my boss.
Okay, Hector, well, I'm sure you have a date with the police and they've invited you because I'm trying to understand what you're saying. On one hand, you say he wasn't attacked. On the other hand, you said he was attacked or you heard noise and then you called the police. But one last question I want to ask you, because in that audio that we're in receipt of, you said him having a relationship with Simplified Group is like having a relationship with your enemies. What do you mean by that?
Okay, because from the noise I had with them agitating, so I now discovered that what they were agitating for, from what I got after I left that place, I shut down the door. I discovered that they were telling him that he was romancing with the Simplified Group, and also to the extent of appointing them into the LJLA as an point of this employment, and why he have not paid them and is owing them, including the security.
So let me understand, Mr. Hector, what is wrong with relating with Simplified Group? What is wrong with that?
My brother, I don't know what is wrong with the Simplified relating with the Simplified Group, but I just want to tell you that that is what transpired. So let me hold on, Hector, we're wrapping up. So are you pro-Wike Group? Is that what you're saying categorically here?
Are you a pro-Wike Group? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not a pro-Wike Group. I'm a CSO of the LJLA, so I'm for everybody. But
yes, the
this
reason,
is what I had that transfer. Yeah,
the reason I'm asking, because I know that the fight in Rivers State is between the governor and his godfather, which is Nyesom Wike. Simplified are pro Fubara, and then we have pro-wike. So if you are saying that it's relating with simplified and that makes the people angry, it only means one or the other thing is a pro-wike group. That's why I'm asking. Bukola has the last question.
Yes, Mr. Hector, your accounts are not aligning. On the one hand, you said you ran to get the police to quell noise, and then on the other hand, after the attack had been done, you ran for your life. So I'm wondering why you ran for your life. But a statement has since emerged, apart from the audio in which you reeled out accounts of mismanagement of funds, allegations, so be it, leveled against the sole administrator. You outlined a number of things here: embezzlement of 7.5 million for vehicle maintenance where there are no vehicles, 4.5 million, embezzlement of 4.5 million using the name of Mr. Hector Ekaki, and that's you, to retire the aforementioned funds, purchase of vehicles, SUV vehicles, amongst other things. And you also said in that audio that you should give account of the local government funds, that the sole administrator of Rivers State is deducting 200 million naira from each allocation. So these are financial crimes. If the EFCC were to look into the account books of Ahoda East, would you be willing to assist the EFCC to investigate?
Yes, if the law takes its proper place, if I'm opportune to give details or to give evidence or to come and testify, I will do my best and then leave the rest for God.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Hector Ekakita, the Chief Security Officer and Chief of Staff to the Administrator of Ahoda East local government area. We'll follow up. I know that the police has invited you. We'll find out exactly how that plays out. Thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate it.
Wow, thank you.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Inibe Effiong will be joining us to break it down for us, the legalese as far as local government administration is concerned, whether in Rivers or in Osun State, right here on the program. Join us again.
Welcome back, and we're still staying with local government administration anyway, and from that last segment you would know that it's quite telling of happenings in local government. So let's look at the legal implications of all of these, and we have joining us on the program Mr. Inibehe Effiong, lawyer and human rights activist. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure to join you this morning. Thank you for having me.
So perhaps you want to react to what just transpired during that last interview.
Well, I watched the gentleman. I'm not sure whether the commentary he has made this morning is deserving of my response. What I heard was somebody who would make a fantastic career as an actor. It seems to me like a comedian of no mean repute. For him to say that he went to the police to report noise pollution, that is what he's saying, to report noise pollution. He's supposed to be the chief security officer of the local government, allegedly. And he had the person that is supposed to protect, sole administrator, which is a different problem entirely. And then, instead of him to intervene to find out what was going on, he said he was asked to leave. So his explanation is that, assuming they were using machete on the man, right? His responsibility would be that the moment the victim says, this is an internal matter, he's not supposed to intervene. It's very childish, the kind of comments he has made this morning. And I would have thought that an adult will be more responsible and will have a sense of accountability. We have all seen the video. It is not hearsay. We have seen the video. The man was being brutalized. He was being flogged. He was thrown to the floor. He was pleading for his life. So even if the victim is now coming out to say, oh, I was not assaulted, they are telling us we should not believe our eyes. But this speaks to the deterioration of democracy in our country. It speaks to the brazen impunity that has basically taken over the entire spectrum of governance in this country. That this kind of barbarism would be tolerated. Until this moment, it does not look like the culprits are in custody. So the Commissioner of Police, beyond saying the CSO led the attack, should explain to Nigerians why the individuals who attacked that man are not held accountable. But the other point, last point I want to make on this matter is that we are not supposed to have a sole administrator in a local government. So, like Ganifa Wemi rightly posited, those who sow the seeds of dictatorship will be consumed by dictatorship. A sole administrator is unknown to law, it is unconstitutional, it is not supposed to be. So the fact that you even have a sole administrator in quote in a local government receiving local government allocation is completely unacceptable. But I call on the government, the Commissioner of Police of Rivers State, to immediately ensure that the culprits are arrested and they should have their day in court. We cannot be listening to that comic comments that the gentleman has made and just simply dismiss it as politics. Someone could have died, someone could have lost his life, and we must learn to respect the sanctity of human life and the dignity of the human person.
Staying with the issue of Rivers State for a moment, because almost everything in Rivers State, as far as politics is concerned, is a conundrum. On one hand, the issue of the sole administrator running the state is another kettle of fish. It's a constitutional matter. Then him appointing sole administrators. Let's talk about the latest one. He just nominated a non-indigene to head the Electoral Commission of the state.
Yes.
Now, the defense of the nominees is to the effect that he has looked through RESEC law, and nothing in the law says a non-indigene can't be. It doesn't stipulate the status of the person in terms of indigenship, as a matter of fact. And some people who are in defense of him are saying because of the face-off between Fubara and Wike, a neutral person is supposed to, should be allowed to run the administration of the management of the Electoral Commission in that sense, because the whole target is control of local government. That is how politics is played, because elections are coming up, I think, in August or so. What do you make of that assertion and position and that disagreement?
Well, Vice Admiral Iboket is a product of illegality. Is a child of impunity. And that is why everything he has done, it is further compounding the impunity that is going on in Rivers State. Who is a sole administrator? Where is it coming from? Who gave him appointive powers? There are powers under the law, even in states that are governed by elected governors. There are powers that are gubernatorial in nature. And those are powers that only the governor can exercise. For example, appointive power, powers over appointment, like appointment of the Rivers State, Independent Electoral Commission. And like the other states of the Federation, only a governor can make that appointment. And when you look at the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission law, the person, the appointing authority is the governor. It is the governor. This man that is parading himself as sole administrator is not the governor of Rivers State. He was not voted as the governor of Rivers State. He was not even rigged into office as the governor of Rivers State. So on what basis is he even making appointments? Is he even determining who should be sole administrator? In fact, he has now even appointed sole administrators for local government. He's now appointing sole administrator for Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. He's appointing everything is now sole administration in Rivers State. So it is laughable what is going on. But regarding whether it should be an indigene or non-indigene, I'm not too bothered about that. Right? We should get to a point as a country where we should identify as Nigerians. But if you are going to appoint somebody from Cross River to run election for local governments in Rivers State, that means you can also appoint someone from Zamfara or Plateau. The person that is appointing, where does he come from? Where is Igbo from? He's not even an indigene of the state. So those who are aggrieved maybe have a point in that. But what I am saying is that this has nothing to do with restoration of peace. What they are doing is basically about having control of the resources of Rivers State. That is what is going on. And it is sad that we just marked the anniversary of June 12th, and we are seeing this brazen desecration of the struggle of June 12th by a person who is telling Nigerians that he was one of those who fought for June 12th. That under this president, you are having this climate of lawlessness in our country, that a man that says he's a sole administrator is now appointing other sole administrators. I mean, it's becoming childish what is going on. Because very soon, they are going to appoint sole administrators as school principals in Rivers State. To run public schools, he's going to appoint sole administrators for public hospitals in Rivers State. Where is this going to end? When is it going to end? They told us, oh, the reason why he was appointed was because of an attack on all installation, all facility, which was never corroborated. Is the attack still ongoing? Why do we still have him in office? They are even talking about approving budgets. That locations of the state are being released to him. As who? He's not known to law. He's not known to the people of Rivers State. So this has to end. We cannot allow this to continue.
And so if we have more time, I'd like us to look a bit more about the continuing state of emergency in Rivers State. But let's go to Osun State,
yes,
where Nolge is raising the alarm that the CBN is planning to move the funds of local governments into a private account. Now, given the legal conundrum in Osun State, are there extraneous circumstances under which the CBN can't pay local government allocation into other accounts other than the joint allocation committee account, yes, or even directly into the local government accounts, yes, under the new Supreme Court granting autonomy, yes, to local governments?
No, let me even begin by saying that I don't think there's a legal conundrum in the Osun matter. The situation in Osun, it is one that I have taken considerable time to study. What is happening again is another travesty. It is again another manifestation of the lawlessness of the Tinubu administration, or the Tinubu regime. What has happened is that, and I would like to give a little background to this matter briefly. Now, in 2022, precisely on the 15th of October, 2022, if I'm not mistaken, the then Rivers State, the then Osun State Independent Electoral Commission held elections across the 30 local government areas in the state. And in conducting that election, they relied on the notice of election that was issued that limited the duration of that election, the notice given to about 60 days, contrary to the provisions of the law that requires a longer time. And they also issued certain guidelines that basically violated the procedure for conduct of local government election as prescribed under the Electoral Act. Now, the matter went to court. The court ruled. There are two judgments of the Federal High Court. The first one was delivered on the 25th of November, 2022, by Honorable Justice Ayo Emmanuel, in favor of the People's Democratic Party, in the case of PDP versus INEC and others. The second judgment delivered in the case of Action People's Party, delivered on the 30th of November, 2022. Now, dissatisfied with the first judgment, okay, an appeal was lodged by the APC to say that the judgment that was delivered ought not to have been delivered because as at the time the case was filed, no notice of election had been given, that the suit was speculative. Of course, the Court of Appeal found in their favor. But in setting aside the judgment of the Federal High Court, delivered on, that is in suit number 94, right? Setting aside that judgment, the Court of Appeal never ordered restoration of the chairman elected on the platform of the APC in Osun State. Now, regarding the second judgment of the Federal High Court, delivered on the 30th of November, 2022, a further appeal was filed at the same Court of Appeal, Akure Division, by Action Allied Party against the judgment given in favor of the Action People's Party. Now, you now look at it. The appeal was dismissed. So you have a situation where even if they are claiming that there are conflicting judgments, what is the law? The letter in time prevails. At the Federal High Court, the letter judgment is the one given in favor of the Action People's Party on the 30th. At the Court of Appeal, the latest judgment was delivered on the 13th of June this month, which basically said that the APC had no basis to bring an appeal. They had not prosecuted it. So the application to revive the appeal was also dismissed because they had not compiled record of appeal, they had not filed brief, and therefore the existing judgment today, as far as the law is concerned, is the judgment of the Federal High Court delivered on the 30th of November, which is subsisting. And if there are two judgments of the Court of Appeal, the letter in time is the one delivered on the 13th of June.
Why is there a confusion?
The confusion is that, quite sadly, we have today someone that some of us had given the benefit of doubt on Lateef Fagbemi, the senior advocate of Nigeria, who was not involved in partisan politics, that when this president appointed him, some of us thought he was going to toe a professional path. But what we are seeing is that, unfortunately, the Attorney General of the Federation seems to be towing the path that some of his ignoble predecessors have towed. They are now allowing partisan politics to take precedence over the law. And by the way, fresh election was conducted in Osun State on the 20th. On the 20th. If you now look at the judgment of the court that was delivered, the election that was held in February, right? The Osun State High Court on the 20th of February, gave an order saying that the Osun State Independent Electoral Commission had no basis to postpone the election. So there is already a fresh election where the candidates of the PDP won. And guess what? In the judgment of the Court of Appeal, the later judgment delivered on the 13th of June, Honorable Justice Omoyele, right, who even read the concurrent judgment, even made the point that assuming without considering that the APC had basis to come back to revive their dismiss appeal, it had become academic because fresh election had been conducted, people have been made, and they have been sworn in. So as I speak now, you have people that have been duly elected under the platform of the PDP.
So Mr. Effiong, so much confusion, not just the Osun election, but there's so much confusion as far as court cases, the verdicts of honorable justices are concerned. Whose responsibility is it to ensure the correct and accurate interpretation of verdicts from courts of law?
Of course, by law, if you look at Section 287 of the Constitution, judgments of courts are binding on all authorities and persons throughout the Federal Republic. But the Attorney General has a special power. The AGF, by Section 150, he said there shall be for the Federation an Attorney General who shall be the Chief Law Officer and Minister of Justice of the Government of the Federation. The question is Lateef Fagbemi the Chief Law Officer or the Chief Lawlessness Officer? That you are now having people that are no longer local government chairman being aided by law enforcement, Nigerian police, Nigerian State Security Service, to forcefully occupy local government council. The AGF shouldn't have supported that. And now they are telling us they even want to release a location to people that are no longer chairman. So the Attorney General has a responsibility. He should not allow politicians to rubbish him. What is Malami being remembered for today? Nigeria should ask him. Where is Malami today? Where is Malami today? Because Malami was almost a demigod. Where is Malami today? And that is the question that where is Andoka today? Where is Andoka? When their names are mentioned today, what is the memory? What is their legacy? So what does Lateef Fagbemi want to be remembered for? To allow this crass impunity to go on and to pretend that, oh, there are no conflicting judgments. Even if there were conflicting judgments, he knows. It is law 101 that the letter in time prevails. And I'm submitting to you that there is no conflicting judgment. Because even the fresh election was based on the order of the court.
So let's talk some legalese a little more. So question number one, there is also the issue of Federal High Court hearing cases around local government election jurisdiction. Yes. Do they have jurisdiction? To
the extent that the way the pleadings were constituted, the way the issues were framed, and the constitution of the parties, yes, the Federal High Court had jurisdiction. By the way, this is not a fresh argument or a fresh point. This point you have raised was raised and canvassed in the two cases at the Federal High Court on whether the court had jurisdiction. You know why the Federal Court had jurisdiction? Because the case were founded on the interpretation of the Electoral Act, which only the Federal High Court can interpret, and also the interpretation of the Constitution. And also because in those two cases, INEC was the primary party. They were released not against INEC. So the Federal High Court properly assumed jurisdiction. And that is because in the conduct of local government election, local government law cannot take precedence over the provisions of the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act is clear. If you look at Section 150 of the Electoral Act 2022, it is clear regarding the mode of election, the notice of election, the submission of list of candidates. It has to be in line with the procedure as applicable in the FCT, which is applicable to all the states. And that is the point the Supreme Court had even ruled as far back as 2009, 2010. In this same Osun State, the case of Osun State Independent Electoral Commission and INEC. So, ab initio, the Federal High Court had jurisdiction, but the point must be stressed that today in Osun State, the only legitimate, the only moral, the only legal, the only defensible administration in local government in Osun is the one elected on the platform of the APC. So let's go back on the platform of the PDP.
Let's piggyback and stay with the legalese here. Bukola asked an important question we've always been asking about. Whose fault is it?
Yes.
So when they are giving judgment, what should we be looking out for? Because it looks like everybody's looking at different things. Some have argued that, oh, in fact, I interviewed one of the, I think the APC spokesperson. Yes. He said it's a procedural judgment. There's a name he called it. And then he was saying that there's no consequential order on one hand. So talk to us about this interpretation and standing on the issue of either consequential order or granting of relief. Because if you look at both parties, one will say, in your judgment, there is no consequential order. They will reply and say, no, but I sought a relief and my release were granted.
Yes. Interesting question. In fact, if you even want to go by that argument, it is still against the APC. At the Federal High Court, in the two judgments I mentioned earlier, the one delivered on the 25th of November and the one delivered on the 30th. The court, Honorable Justice Dayo Emmanuel, gave consequential orders basically sacking the APC local government chairmen and councillors. At the Court of Appeal, in the two judgments, the one delivered on the 10th of February this year, okay, in favor of the APC, which basically set aside the judgment of 25th. The judgment of 25th delivered in 2022. Now, if you look at it, in the Court of Appeal, there was no consequential order in favor of the APC. There is nothing in the judgment, I challenge anybody, there is nothing in the judgment of the accurate division of the Court of Appeal delivered on the 10th of February this year that ordered that the council chairman of the APC should be reinstated.
But they say that their reliefs were granted.
The relief that was granted was an order setting aside the judgment of the Federal High Court. It did not reinstate them. And I'm telling you that there are two judgments of the Federal High Court, delivered 5 days apart.
So there's a difference between setting aside and reinstatement.
Of course. But what I am even saying is that let's even as we talk about the consequential judgment. In the judgment delivered on the 13th, just a few days ago, 13th of June, if you read the concurrent judgment, the leading judgment was read by Honorable Justice Obiora. I've read all these judgments. In the concurrent judgment of Honorable Justice Omoyele, my Lord made it clear that assuming without conceding, we even say, come back and restate your appeal. Fresh election has been held in Osun State. Persons have emerged. There is no longer anything to determine. So the Court of Appeal on the 13th of June has already taken cognizance that the PDP has won the election in local governments in Osun State. So what are we talking about? This is happening not because there is confusion over the decisions of our courts. This is happening because under this government, it is looking like might is right. And this has to stop. The president, and you see the hypocrisy. Let me even draw nexus with Rivers State. The hypocrisy in Rivers State, where they have an illegality, an unconstitutionality, impostors, they are releasing a location to sole administrators in Rivers State, local government sole administrators in Rivers State. But in Osun State, where they are elected chairmen, affirmed by order of court, based on election held pursuant to an order of court, which the Court of Appeal has now affirmed, they are denying them access to the secretariat. They are even saying they want to release the funds to people that are unknown to law. This shows you that as far as this issue of local government autonomy is concerned, the Attorney General may not be entirely sincere to Nigerians. This government is deceptive. There is a clear deception.
Speaking of might and as it relates to law, now let's return to Rivers State. And I'd like you to know your position on the continuing state of emergency against the backdrop of the options that are available to the people. Can they challenge this in law? And what is the potential for the democratically elected governor, Sim Fubara, to sort of reclaim this lost time, as we have seen in past election cases where we now have staggered election, Anambra, even Osun, and the likes?
Well, if you look at what is going on in Rivers State, at some point you cannot cry more than they bereave. At some point, you cannot cry more than they bereave. Fubara himself has not demonstrated the political sagacity and the willpower to ensure that order is restored. You have been unconditionally removed from office, supplanted by an impostor, and I insist he's an impostor because Vladimir Alibog was not on the ballot. His name was not, his party, we don't know where he's coming from. Now, you are still dining, you know, with the man who removed you. You are going to, traveling abroad to see him. You are coming to Lagos to prostrate before him. What exactly is your position? But eventually, it is not just about Fubara. It is about the people of Rivers State. That till date, we are still speaking about state of emergency. What is the emergency? What is the emergency? I mean, what is the basis for this going on till date? This should have ended since. I am hoping that the Supreme Court will intervene and put a stop to this travesty that is going on. It is a dangerous precedent. If Tinubu can do this in Rivers, he can do it in the 36 states. There is nothing today stopping President Tinubu from waking up tomorrow and sacking all the governors in Nigeria. Nothing. There is nothing. If we are going by their own argument, all he simply has to do is to manufacture a non-existent excuse, as he has done in Rivers State. And it is scandalous that the Nigerian Senate, the National Assembly, has become a participatory means, a party to this crime against our Constitution, by basically aiding the impunity, pretending to be carrying out oversight, calling the sole administrator to come and explain budget. As what? As what? They keep making a ridicule of our Constitution. And you wonder why the international community is not respecting us. You wonder why the green passport has become a source of embarrassment.
So, as we begin to wind down, we're waiting for this. I'm wondering, this issue, because the PDP governors, as at then 11 of them, now one has defected.
My governor.
Your governor has defected. Our governor has defected. Oboro has defected.
Yes.
So I think we have maybe 9 or so of them left. They took the federal government to court.
Yes.
We were thinking, because of the confusion that the action of the president has caused, the Supreme Court will expedite hearing so that we give final. In fact, we interviewed Wole Soyinka, the Nobel laureate, here, and he said, I think it's just about time for there to be a final pronouncement. Why is there a delay 3 months down the line in the hearing of the case?
I don't know. But what I am seeing, I don't know. I'm not part of the case. I'm not a counsel in the matter. I don't know why they appeal, because it's a matter of grave constitutional concern. It is a serious matter that should warrant, an urgent and expedited hearing. So I hope that my Lord, I'm appealing to my Lord directly now, the Honorable Chief Justice of Nigeria, to please look at the Rivers appeal, and then if there is a panel already, so that maybe Nigerians can have some respite, that impunity is not a lifestyle in this country. And the other point is that the politics that is going on, the same governors, some of the governors who were saying, oh, the president cannot remove a governor, they are now in bed with the president. Look at the Akwa Ibom governor. He says he's defecting because of seaport. These politicians think we are all kids. Which seaport is he talking about? Which seaport? Which seaport is he talking about? Everybody in Akwa Ibom knows why Umoino is defecting. It has nothing to do with the interests of the state. It's defecting because the APC looks like a rigging machine, that once you come will guarantee you victory, no matter by all means. This has nothing to do with this seaport. And the media should dispel that propaganda. Umoino did not defect because the federal government will build a seaport in Akwa Ibom. He's defecting to align with Akpabio because to capture power. And he has said that. I don't have power to fight like Wike. He said so. This is about his political interest.
Strong allegations.
All right. We hope that next time we have this conversation, what we know will be more than what we do not know. We must thank you very much, Mr. Enibehe Effiong, lawyer and human rights activist. Thank you for your time and contribution on this segment.
Thank you.
And
welcome back. So let's talk about leadership, especially among the young persons. They are the successor generation of any kind of leadership, political, corporate, religious, traditional. They are the successor generation. So let's talk to someone who is very passionate about successor generation and how to build capacity for them. Aisha Agbajo-Ogunade is Executive Secretary of Lateef Jakonde Leadership Academy right here in Lagos, Nigeria.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Likewise, I'm very happy to be here. No pressure at all. It's been good. It's been phenomenal. There are good news in Nigeria.
Yeah,
There's always good news, and I'm glad to always be part of that good news.
All right.
Yeah, so it's been good.
Fantastic. So, one of the things that crossed my mind when I knew you were coming is to ask you exactly how you are characterizing this season of leadership. I don't know what you want to look at, whether it's political or corporate. So let's just say positional political leadership. How you are characterizing it and how it's forming your thought in managing the expectations on one hand, the positioning on the other hand, the capacity on the third leg of successor generation that you lead in the academy.
That's a big question, and I think that's a very theoretical question. So if you give it to me as a research, I'll probably have to give you like a dissertation. I think that's actually a really good dissertation question. So it's not something that obviously I can, effectively answer completely and utterly, but it's to what we say to beneficiaries that come to us, like fellows, associates, young people, is that everything is a learning process. So even what is going on in Nigeria, the leadership, everything, it's a learning process. So essentially what you pick out, and I say to a lot of young people, particularly through our process of the academy, is that you will not know what sort of leader you are, but you would know what sort of leader you do not want to be. So essentially, there's the opportunity to pick out the leaders that you do not want to be. And then there's the opportunity to also see leaders that are doing it effectively and pick out the leaders you want to be. And so it's a pick and choose situation, like pick mix. Pick the candies you want and drop the candies you do not want. So that's really how essentially I would characterize it. It's literally evaluating this holistically, unbiased, looking at the pros and cons, because we're very big on opinionated media today, and as opposed to theory-backed media. So looking at the pros and cons and then picking it out and dropping it, what's effective, what's not effective. That's really how I'll characterize it. And then I'm someone that I'm currently still in the place of learning. So I'm looking at, when I get there eventually, this is what I will do, this is what I won't do, this is what I'll do. So that's really how I characterize it, and this is what I advise a lot of young people to, that's how I advise a lot of young people to characterize it.
Instructive. You would know what leader you do not want to be, but you may not know the kind of leader that you are.
Because leadership is a journey. You find unfolding. It unfolds as the journey becomes bigger. Because you get to a point whereby, like Donald Trump, you're trying to pick, should I bomb Iran today or not? It unfolds. New character unfolds. It's like the onion, the layers, they continue to unfold. So you then pick. But however, if your foundation and your ethics and your integrity are strong, those will carry you through the unfolding of the onions.
Okay, so now speaking of the structure or the templates that supports the kind of leadership or the kind of leaders that young people should be, if we looked at what currently obtains, some would diagnose us and say that the reason we're having a challenge with our democracy is because we're not democratic in nature. We're monarchical in nature. If you look at our history, our tradition, where we have obas and kabiesis who cannot be challenged like that. So are you seeing that, do you support that diagnosis, that is the reason our democratic template is certainly not working, and we may have to reconsider our approach to democracy, even if we must continue?
No, absolutely not. Whether monarchy sort of government, which the UK has, and it works. So it's not about which you don't have. I'm very big on democracy. I'm as someone that studied it for a long time. I think what we've done is we've picked and we've not tailored to our needs. So we've obviously followed the a lot of the US Constitution, and what we've done is we've adopted it and we've not tailored it to what we require. And it's about the key to leadership, to policies, is about implementation, intentionality, and tailoring it to people's needs. Because Singapore, for instance, has adopted a lot of the policies all over the world, but what they've significantly done is adopt it, is adapt it, right? Adopt and adapt. And I think essentially that's what we've not done. Some people can even argue that the 4-year tenure is not enough. Unlike the UK, it's a democracy, it operates the 5-year tenure, right? You can even argue that. That's, again, up for debate. But I think we've just not been able to adapt, tailor, implement it to suit our own environment. It's not everything that works in the West that we necessarily need to just pick up and think, oh, it's going to work in, in Nigeria. You have to look at the cultural aspect of things. You have to look at the people's reaction to things. And it's really adopting it. We also have over 200 million people. So it's really changing it to work for a certain scope. So I don't fault a lot of these political structures or theories, but what I do is I look at, is it functional for our society? And that's the questions we need to ask. And also, I don't imagine if someone thinks of something functional and they bring it to Nigeria, Nigerians will really easily accept as well. There's also that, I always say Nigerians are a reflection of their leaders, right? So really, it's really adopting it, implementing, transiting it, getting a focal point for it. And I don't think we do very well with our policies in that sense. We are not. I learned something recently. We recently went to Singapore with a lot of our fellows, and it's the difference is there's futures thinking with every policy. So when we create policies, when they create policies, they're thinking about what does the future look like? We don't want today. What does the future look like? And I think when we do our policies, we need to look at what does the future look like. It seems like something small to think about, but it's actually huge. And it's the intention. It focuses on the intention behind a lot of the policies we make. And we can't make policies because we need to shape Nigeria now. No. What does that look like in the future?
So, yeah, great point you've raised. Let's come to your academy, because what you've raised now has become a source of controversy between the government and those who are opposed to the government. The concept of immediate, drastic policy reform against gradualism. So the shocks that we feel with the twin policy of the government is simply saying, it's going to hit you hard. You're going to dip. Some may not survive that dip, but we're eventually going to come out on the other side better. That's the argument on one leg as far as that issue or reform is concerned. So you just try and follow up and stay alive till we get to destination point. Then gradualism say, no, let's do it a one water approach because we're not really ready with all our fundamentals in terms of legacy issues. So that's a big argument. So where I'm going to with my question is about critical and analytical thinking. How are you helping your fellows to be critical and analytical? Because that seems to be far from some of our leaders with the results we're seeing. And you're raising leaders in your academy. So now it's time to talk about it.
I don't think it's far from our leaders, actually.
I say some of our leaders.
Yeah, maybe some. But I also think that you also have to ask, is it far from Nigerians? Because also, what do Nigerians want? And I think we have to reorient our society to get it to think, understand policies and understand the analysis behind certain things. Again, I said that a lot of the journey for our fellows is they won't know what sort of leader they want to be, but they know what sort of leader they don't want to be. And it's for them to really dissect a lot of that information and come to their own conclusion, with us just simply giving them the armor of integrity, moral ethics, being an ethical leader, being a person of substance. But however, we are teaching them to get, because leadership takes you buying on the vision of others. You need people to buy into your vision. That's how you become an effective leader. And we've taught them the importance of getting people to buy into your vision. It's not authoritarianism, it's not dictatorship, but you can work together as a team. And I think even with the leaders today, we need to start seeing Nigeria as a teamwork. Right? Because effectively would then be able to dispense a lot of the policies more effectively to get Nigerians to, easily accept it and embrace it. And I think that's what we teach, at the academy. We look at leaders that have done it before. And, I mentioned Singapore, and then you have Lee Kuan Yew's, and you learn about, the pros and cons to his government. How I remember when I went to Singapore years ago, and I remember I met some elderly people, and they're like, they don't like Lee Kuan Yew because Lee Kuan Yew has brought in a lot of the young people and he's quickly retired the older people. So there's always going to be the pros and the cons, but it's ultimately getting people to understand that thing that you are doing. And I think that's what we do at the fellowship. So we take them through leadership seminars, we get them to case study a lot of the leaders, and and just really literally learn through what has been done before and develop them.
That's very important, especially as it impacts on governance. But we know that the Lagos State government is investing in equipping young persons with leadership skills at your academy. Well, I'd like you to talk about that, but beyond that, how important is it also for civil servants to be enlisted in your leadership courses? Because they are the engine room of, governance at the state level. They're the implementers of state government policies that you're talking about. How important is it for state governments to reconsider a course, a crash course, or drills that will change their mindset and their attitudes towards governance?
If we're going to do 1 minute.
Thank you for that. That's actually a discussion we always have, because civil servants are the engine rooms. We always have conversations about, is it good leaders or strong leaders or strong institutions? But the civil servants are at the core of these institutions. And for us at LJLA, by the way, we recently got our bill signed into law, which is fantastic, so which sustains us. We also ensure that we enlist civil servants, to take them through young ones, because they will be the ones to, level up in the system and accelerate in the system. So we actually bring in civil servants as part of our academy's core of the 1-year fellowship, and to join us. So we have a certain percentage that join us every year, because we also know that it's a drop in the mighty ocean, but it's also that drop that makes the mighty ocean. And I know that Lagos State recently started the public sector accelerator program for civil servants. I think we don't currently have enough on that, but I think that a lot of people are starting to focus on the importance of enabling civil servants, because civil service is not no longer the dumping ground. It's no longer the space whereby you just see people and you leave them there. Oh, you're looking for a job, quickly enter. It needs to stop, because they are actually the ones in charge of the system. They are the gatekeepers. They are the ones that are the front runners at the back end. And it should no longer be a child's play. It should be a place whereby we build cores, we build systems, we build strong systems, we build integrity. I think there's a lot of work going into that right now, personally, and we're adding our own bits to it. But essentially, I think there needs to be an overhaul.
All right. Absolutely. So we're going to hold you to that. You're now given the responsibility for that, to build successor generation. I was very deliberate. So if they are failing, we'll come to you. That you didn't teach them well. Especially your failures. Aisha Agbajo-Kwade is Executive Secretary, Lateef Jakonde Leadership Academy. Great work you're doing. We'll continue to check in on you and what you're doing, because we need capacity building in our leadership. Thank you for coming on the program.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, before we leave the studio, let's bring you up to speed with what you are saying on the program. No, not on the program. What you've been saying, we'll call it the front pages of the social media. Let's get to the handover by the Ecowas chair, President Bola Tinubu, to Sierra Leone's bill taking over in Lagos. Abdurrashid Rashid said, I'd wanted him to initiate the revitalization of ECOMOG before he hands over. We need to jointly step up regional security to collectively eliminate terrorism. Bukola, you have the next one.
You have the next one, Jeffrey.
Okay. Ken Pachi Zakari says, the president of Nigeria has washed his hands and the hands of Nigerians from regional conflict. Interesting. That's quite amusing. I never saw that coming. We also have Emmanuel Tom, who said, what has been achieved during his tenure as chairman of the regional body, because there were many breakup from other neighboring countries. So yes, President Tinubu is being said to have been in leadership of ECOWAS when all the guys in the Sahel decided,
left, right?
when the Sahel guys said, we ain't doing it again, let's use a Nigerian term. So what is the legacy of President Bola Tinubu as far as the leadership of ECOWAS is concerned? The verdict is in your hands. Bukola, do you have any other one?
That must be the last, I believe.
Yes. Okay, I think we have just one more where a retired Nigerian police officer cries out and rejects ₂ million naira pension after 35 years of service. So I don't know whether we have time for that. So we have a video of a retired police officer who was served in the police force, according to him, for 35 years during retirement. He got some money that he feels that is not commensurate with the number of years he's put in. And this is why we are saying, besides screaming at our security agencies, oh, they are not doing enough, oh, they should have been proactive, we need to also advance and advocate for better welfare. I don't think any policeman, no matter the least policeman, the least soldier, in my view, and the view of many Nigerians I want to believe, should not earn anything less than 250 to 300,000 because you're giving him gun. I don't know.
Putting his life on the line as well.
Justice for our security forces and our security apparatus. Justice for them. That's it on the program. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye. Sunrise Daily is up next, so stay with Channels Television. We got you covered all day through the week. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.